All right, the meeting is called to order at noon on August 6th, 2024 for the Oregon School Board Association's OSBA Governance Committee meeting. Welcome. I'll be announcing the members in attendance today. We have Jackie Crook, Greg Kentz, Chrissy Reitz, and Linda Hamilton, and myself in attendance. I believe we're anticipating Neelam and Sonia and Lori Denzuka. I've heard from all of them that they're going to be coming soon. However, we have also uh, Director Jeff Crapper is excused. He has to be excused. I think that's all what we have heard from, and I think Sonny McKenzie have joined us right now. So a roll call is taken, and the a roll call is taken, and a quorum is established. I want to welcome everybody, and just as a background where we are right now, this is the last scheduled. It is actually additionally scheduled, but the last scheduled meeting for the governance committee. Governance committee has several responsibilities, among them recommending bylaws modifications to the board of directors, and for the board of directors, consequently would consider resolutions based on recommendations of the governance committee, and those resolutions go to the full membership. As a background where we are in this year, 2024, we will be having one resolution in front of the board to consider to increase the membership dues. That will be a request for the membership to vote on during our regular elections. And also, we are today meeting in consideration of bylaws revisions. That will be another resolution for the board of directors to consider. And potentially now we're looking at two resolutions that will be coming to the board to consider and eventually for the membership to vote on in this year. The first thing I want to share with us is we have an agenda to approve. It contains the minutes and bylaws reviews based on the meetings that we had in the past. So the first agenda on the item is approving the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Director Crook and seconded by immediate past President McKenzie to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any objection to the motion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing there's no discussion on the motion, is there any objection on the motion? Seeing there is no objection on the motion, passes unanimously. So next item on the agenda is the approval of the May 29th, 2024 OSBA's Governance Committee meeting minutes as presented in your packet. Is there a motion?
I have a question. There was also a June 26th meeting. I was curious why those minutes weren't in to be approved.
Absolutely. Question is in order. And Linnell or Emily, do we have an update about? Oh, actually, did you say June 26th? Because I see it's in the packet.
My
I don't.
apologies. I neglected to update the sample motion language with the new dates. The June meeting minutes have been included in the packet.
Thank you. And as I see in the minutes draft that we already have approved the May 29th. So thank you for the clarification, Jackie. Disregard my initial comment about May 29th. And is there a motion for the June 26th meeting minutes as presented? Or any questions?
I move to approve the minutes of the June 26th meeting as presented.
Thank you.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I abstain.
Thank you, Linda. Do you want to state any reason for the abstention?
I want to do a second reading. I think something is missing.
Okay, please feel free to share those notes as soon as possible if you have any comments. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing there's no discussion, we will now enter into a vote.
Could I,
let-
could I put the record, or request a record that the recording on June 26th be sent to me?
June 26th meeting recording.
Yes, thank you.
Without objection, so ordered. So you will be receiving the recording of the June 26th meeting for your review.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Director Hamilton, is there anything specific you would like to highlight that might be missing and worth noting in the minutes?
No, send me the recording and I'll just review it. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so we have a motion in order. Is there any further discussion? Seeing there is no further discussion, now we will be entering into a vote. Is there any objection to the minutes as presented, or is there any objection to the motion as presented? If there is any objection, please say I object or nay. Seeing none, let the record show that Director Hamilton abstains from voting and all other members in attendance are in favor of the motion, and as such, the motion passes. Thank you, and I will note Director Gupta as well joined us recently. What else do we have now? Next item on the agenda is bylaws review, information and action. Myself and our Chief Legal Officer and Interim Deputy Executive Director, Haley Purcell, are going to share with the committee an update. This update is basically a reflection of the packet that you have received a week ago. My understanding, we did not receive any comments or objections on the bylaws review, document that you have been shared or you have received about a week ago. It entails really a summary of the discussions that we have heard from the committee members. And I believe there were some questions from members who reached out to Haley directly, Director Crook, and I want to offer this opportunity for Haley to share an overview of the document and answer any questions that Haley may have received and any other follow-up questions to answer them. And then we will have the opportunity to vote on this revised proposal for bylaws changes. So Haley, take it away.
Thank you, Sammy. Okay, so the summary of the changes are reflected on page 5 of the packet, and we have listed all of the revisions on the left side. The new language is in red on the document. The deleted language is struck. It says that the substantive changes are highlighted in yellow, but they are not. I think that I had them highlighted in yellow and did not tell Linnell to keep the highlighting. So that's why I think it's not there, at least on the version I have. But if you want to know which ones are substantive or non-substantive, if you looked at the right-hand column, it says non-substantive change for the changes that are non-substantive, and then the substantive ones are indicated as substantive in that right column. I spoke with Jackie. She had some questions and we worked through those. I didn't receive any input from anyone to make any changes to the bylaws since this version went out. So I have nothing else to add other than to open it up for questions about this document.
If there's any questions, feel free to unmute, raise your hand, and go for it. See, Linda, you unmuted. Do you have a question? Oh, sorry. I see Greg and Linda have unmuted and raised their hands. I think I noticed Greg's hands first, so let's go for Greg and then Linda. And then-
You see my hand up, not yet, Sammy.
Okay, no worries. Then Greg and then Jackie.
Okay, so I understood from our board, from the board, and we have committees under 4.2, it says other board committees. Is that what the governance committee is, an other board committee? Is it, we have a finance committee and a policy committee, legislative policy committee, but then does the board, the governance comes under other board committees, correct?
I believe you are correct. And so other committees, the board is able to create other committees as it deems appropriate. So that's kind of a catch-all for any committee the board might decide to create. But I believe the governance committee, I can't remember if it's actually in the bylaws or not. I'd have to go back and look here.
The reason I ask is that later on we have language about how the committee members are appointed and how they're approved and that kind of things. And so there's a difference in a committee that's the established committee of the board of directors, and then there's information under there for how that's done for other committees. And then on top of that, there's another talk sometime later that talks about how a vacancy is approved in those committees. And I understand that the president has that authority to appoint into those positions. But even then, I wanted clarification. Even then, all of those positions, either by a board committee or another committee or a vacancy, those then have to go to the board, the entire board, for approval. So that will be brought up and say, here's some people that were appointed. What do you think? Do I have that right?
Correct. Yes, the board has to approve those committee appointments, and you're also correct that the governance committee is under other board committees. It's not one of the 3 committees that's established in the bylaws.
The other thing was president serves as an ex officio of all committees. And as such, do ex officios, I know they do not have voting rights in the board, but does the president then have voting right as well, even though it's called an ex officio?
Correct. The president is an ex officio voting member on all of the
Voting member, ex officio voting member.
on
Okay.
all the committees.
And my last one was I still had a little bit of concern about we talked about this before, but I wasn't sure what the full resolution was about the qualifications for board member status on the executive committee. I had recommended that we keep it with duly elected regional representatives, which does not fully cover an appointed person from a caucus. Those people are board members, or they're members of state agencies, but they have not been elected by the region. And I would like to see that you can only serve on the executive committee if you are a duly elected regional representative. And I don't see that language there. I see it quite the opposite, in that anyone who is on the board of directors, however they got there, is available for the executive committee. And I just want to make sure that's correct.
Yes, correct. The language that's in this final document allows for the 22 regionally elected directors to serve in officer positions, and also those 2 designated directors from the caucus can also serve as officers. That's the language that ended up in this document. It was my understanding that that was kind of the consensus of the group at the end of the last governance committee meeting. So that's the language that's in this document.
Okay. And I will, I will go ahead with this whole document, but I want to just raise an objection to that. I do not think that's correct. And we should be keeping the board of directors and its leadership to the people who were elected by the regions only.
Thank you, Greg. I see Jackie and Linda and Sonia, you momentarily raised your hand. I'm assuming that was probably you wanted to answer a question that was asked, or do you want to be in the line after Jackie and Linda for a comment?
You can put me in the line afterwards.
Will do. Same thing for Emily. Would you like to share an answer or speak after Jackie or Linda?
I just wanted to address one thing, one distinction there with what Greg said in terms of the distinction is that we had talked about before is that they have to remain elected in that position while serving as an officer if they're a member of the caucus. So they have to continue to hold that position for the caucus. And if the caucus did not continue to elect them into that position, then they would no longer be an officer, just like a regionally elected director.
Thank you, Emily. Appreciate it. Jackie and then Linda and then Neelam. Jackie.
The 4.11 on the executive committee notifying the board on emergency situations. I've talked with Haley and I don't know how to resolve it, but the situation where we got information and actually didn't even get the information pointed out to us on an email sent by Jim that waiting 2 weeks or on my board, we're immediately notified that there's a problem. So and sometimes it has been a legal issue, but they stated it in such a way that we did not reveal the situation or the person's name or that we had a situation. And I'm concerned about the fact that up to 2 weeks from the executive committee is, I don't know how we would reword that, but I'm concerned about the wording of that.
Thank you, Jackie. Just as a matter of both debriefing and looking forward, I really appreciate your notes. Is up to 2 weeks give flexibility for the executive committee within that period, but also puts the onus on expediently share information as soon as practicable. To the point of the email that was shared, I believe 3 to 4 days before the annual convention, and it was not practicable for the executive committee to meet and consider some legal requirements before sharing that email and some relevant information to it. Happy to debrief with you one-on-one to give you some a reflection on the facts there, but definitely in the sentiment of what you shared, I would agree that executive committee should have always access to legal counsel and always have the ability to share with the board anything of that substance. But definitely I'll be very happy to reflect with you on what we learned from that. And I want to navigate that in a way that's mindful of the confidentiality of some investigations we had in the past. But really appreciate your notes. And to the matter of on hand, right now we are giving the executive committee up to 2 weeks, and they have that kind of discretion on deciding how soon to share it. So you're absolutely right there. So with that, I'll move to Linda and then Neelam. And I believe, sorry, Sonia, you are in the docket after Neelam. Linda?
Thanks. I'm just going to follow up on what Jackie just said on the 2 weeks. 2 weeks is quite a bit of time. And I know we have what they call special meetings. And there is such thing as exigent circumstance, and following the working agreements and abiding by the working agreements with the board of directors and executive committee and sharing that information out and not putting gag orders on people's not to talk and one person making the decision. I also don't recall we voted the 2 caucus officers on June 26th can serve on the board and officers positions, same as those that are elected by their region. So that's a concern. It could have happened when I got off the meeting. So I'm not sure, but that 2 weeks is not, that's, please reevaluate that, because that's why we had lost a lot of attorney fees and stuff this last time. It's that lack of working agreement, and the lack of gag order on executive committee members. Some that didn't was told, one person basically making the decisions. I'm still reviewing that investigation report, and there's a lot of discrepancies in there and a lot of violations in there.
Yeah.
So
I have to cut you off. I'm sorry. You're out of order because disclosing confidential information in a public session will violate our duty of care for this organization, and you are out of order on the context of the review of the bylaws. So please maintain the comments toward the bylaws. And if you have any information about alleged gag orders or discrepancies in investigation, please communicate those with me and with legal counsel expediently outside the public meeting, if that's okay. I appreciate you giving me the ability to speak right now, but really this is out of order. You have the floor again.
okay, I apologize. I thought we were talking about bylaws and how to protect ourselves and daily operation of policies and procedures. And 2 week, trying to make, define how urgent should the board get information. So I thought that would be helpful, but, disclosing our investigation, I don't consider that confidentiality. I didn't use no names, so I understand what you're saying. So I will be following up with that.
Please do, but definitely I'll have to protect our duty of care that the matter of any reports or investigation or details needs to be reported as soon as possible if you have them, and it is out of order with the topic and the session that we are here in. So your comments noted. Is any additional notes on the bylaws, Linda?
No, not at this moment, but there's a lot of concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Emily Nishik, would you like to share any information before we return to the docket?
Yeah, I think something that could be a helpful reminder is that we will have, in addition to this kind of high level notification that is within the bylaws, there is also, the policy committee is also working on specific policies around and processes around when there is a report that is necessary, or when there's an investigation, to be able to help with the process piece, and that will be happening in policy, and it's much more prescriptive. So this is a little bit bigger, broader within the bylaws. So if that's helpful, that is something that the policy committee is working on as well.
Thank you, Emily. Neelam and then Sonia.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the OSBA team for their really careful and diligent work on the bylaws and organizing everything so well. So it's really clear, easy to follow, and so much appreciation to all of you for your great work on this. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to add on to the comment about the caucuses. We are elected by our caucus members, and again, I think about the importance of the caucuses in creating that pathway into leadership.
Thank you, Neelam, for your comments. Sonia?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I have a couple things I want to say. I just wanted to clarify 3.53, and I apologize if I'm asking something that's really obvious. I just wanted some clarification on it because it's a little confusing to me. Is this president or immediate past president of the OSBA board? And if they are is that a regional director, or if they are in a leadership position on a caucus? Is that what this is applicable to? So I'm just trying to make sure I understand the change here.
Yeah, to answer the question is yes and yes. This bylaw that you highlighted, it applies for the caucus elected members if they happen to be president or immediate past president of OSBA Board of Directors. And the answer I say yes and yes because it treats regionally elected directors equally as the caucus directors. So now these bylaws are bringing parity for all elected board directors, whether regionally or caucus. Haley, did I answer accurately?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay, great. And I also just wanted to express my appreciation for all the work that's gone into updating, making these updates. I also do want to just kind of reiterate what I mentioned in the last meeting. I believe that we've all been part of that process of approving the caucuses with the intention of a couple of things. One is establishing leadership that is representative and of the mission and the goals of the caucus, and they are under the umbrella of OSBA. In addition to that, representing students, whether that be students of color or students in rural communities. That pathway piece is really incredibly important, and that was one of the tenets of the creation of the caucus. And so I feel that it's important that we maintain that there's, and then we have great examples of leadership that we've seen from those caucuses that have also gone on to serve on the OSBA Executive Committee and on the Board of Directors. So I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Sonia. I want to give an opportunity for members who have not spoken or asked questions. So Chrissy and Lori, feel free to unmute or raise your hands if you have any questions or comments. I just want to give you space if you would like to contribute. See none, I'll recognize myself for a few comments and then open it up for another round. My outlook on the discussion we had as a governance committee is we really had different perspectives. And to summarize the documents at hand, it's really the best compromise and best outcome given all different options that were presented and really good perspectives that each member have presented. And I want to encourage us as we navigate through all of these changes now, as we recommend them to the board, we go united in terms of this is a step forward and an enhancement from where we are, and recommend to the membership to vote on it in a way that we're unified. And the reason I want to say that for any organization, when you go to your voters or your members and ask them for support, you want to really show unity and strength in the outcome of your work. And I really want to acknowledge this. Last time we did a bylaws change was last year, and before that it was years before. So this is the second time a year in a row. So thank you for your time and spending an extra meeting in the year to really get this finalized. But definitely my recommendation as a chair of this committee and president of the board is when we go to the membership with a resolution to increase the dues, I hope also we come with a unified vision on what the bylaws should look like, so they see strength in this organization moving forward. And definitely points taken for many questions that will be addressed through policy, through practices, so we can do better as well. So these are my few comments. I want to be as neutral as possible about the bylaws, but I'm kind of tipping my hand where I can say really everybody's perspective in this committee has been reflected here in one way or the other. You might not see it in a completely what you want to see there, but definitely it is the best that we can have among this among the different perspectives we heard. So with that, I will yield back to any committee members who would like to contribute for another round before we go for a final discussion and a vote, or a motion and a vote. So Linda, do you have any questions?
No, sorry, I let my hand down.
No worries. So at this stage, since there is no further questions, just remind you of the process. Now, this is just a recommendation of drafting a resolution for the full board, and then the full board will make an action for the membership. The chair entertains a motion for the committee to recommend the proposed revisions of the OSBA bylaws to the board as presented for adoption and forward as a resolution to OSBA member boards for vote. Is there a motion as such?
I move to approve. Do I have to say the whole thing?
Since I stated on the record, I would say whatever I said will be reflected as your motion, if there's no objection.
Okay,
Second,
yeah, I don't remember everything you said, so I would have to.
okay, let's make sure it's formalized. I will type it
I
down.
could say it. I could say it, Sonia.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I
Correct.
move is that okay, Sammy, for me to?
Yes,
Okay, I move the committee to recommend the proposed revisions of the OSBA bylaws to the board as presented for adoption and forward as a resolution to the OSBA member boards for vote.
is there a second?
I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Final discussion. Jackie,
Now, it was my understanding that it didn't go to the full board, but it went to the, oh, it says member boards, so that means that it goes to the whole organization. I thought it went to the, at our retreat, that it went to the board of directors, and the board of directors then sent it on. I've never done this process, so that that's my question. Is that what happened? I thought that's what happened, so I need a clarification.
yeah, absolutely, Jackie. So to answer your question, your understanding is accurate, and this is what the motion does. What the motion does, we are sending a recommendation of the governance committee to the board in a form of a resolution. So they're going to have exactly the same packet that we have right now. In addition to it, a motion with resolution, whereas. And that resolution during the retreat will be voted in OSBA Board of Directors as a resolution of an election. And then the election with member boards, so the Vernonias and Corvalises and the ESDs will be voting on it with other items on the election.
So-
And passes
So
then.
my question is,
Mhm.
it's sent to the OSBA member boards for vote. Shouldn't that state to the board of directors rather than member boards?
Could you restate the question?
Okay, in the motion, at the end, it says for adoption and forward as a resolution to the OSBA member boards. It doesn't say that it's going to the board of directors first and then to the member boards. Am I just, is it just a way that you normally present this?
You know what? I hear your comment and concern, and I'm going to defer to Haley and Bob to answer this question. This is a motion by the governance committee to forward as a resolution to OSBA board members. Maybe the sentiment here, and I'm not reading it accurately here. The sentiment is for adoption and consequently for the OSBA board to forward as a resolution to OSBA member boards for a vote, because we don't have that right as a committee. That's the intent of the resolution, the motion as I see it. Is that correct?
I understand that it's not our duty. I'm just saying that we're a committee.
Yeah.
We send it to the board of directors. The board of directors at our retreat will decide to send it on to the member boards. And I'm just saying that we're skipping a step, but it may be a mute issue. I don't know. But it was just, a little blip in my thought.
Yeah, and I hear you. Haley and Bob, would you like to comment?
So the way I'm reading the motion, the first part is where you're sending it to the board. So I move the committee to recommend the proposed revisions of the OSBA bylaws to the board. That's the OSBA board as presented. And then it gets forwarded to the OSBA membership for a vote. It, maybe it could have been worded a little better so it's not so confusing, but that's what I'm interpreting that to say, unless Bob has a different take on that.
No,
Thank
I
you.
think that's exactly right.
Okay, all right.
So the motion as stated is identical to saying for adoption and recommend it to forward as a resolution to the OSBA member boards for a vote. Is that correct?
I think this says that it's going to the board will consider it, and then they will decide whether or not this goes to the membership for a vote. And that's how the process works, and I think that's how the motion reads.
Awesome. And that's our legislative intent as documented on record right now. Thank you, Jackie, for that clarification. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Got thumbs up. Any further discussion? So seeing there's no further discussion, final thoughts or summary. If the motion passes, we will be presenting a resolution that reflects the bylaws changes. And also they will have a comparison sheet that shows what changed and the proposed languages as a summary, as we have seen it here on the packet. And then if the board of directors consider that resolution and votes on it positively, it will go for the full membership. And I will state the motion for a final vote after Greg provides any discussion or questions. Greg.
So this does not preclude the ability for the full board to make changes then too. If there are changes that are necessary, or they find something that's not very descriptive, or they find something that's not clear, the full board could recommend changes before that's sent out. We will have discussion about all of the changes and find out what the full board thinks about our work. So just want to make sure that happens.
Absolutely, Greg. And as a matter of process, probably send it back to the governance committee with suggested changes, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
All right. Any further comments? It's been moved to the committee to recommend the proposed revisions of the OSBA bylaws to the board as presented for adoption and forward as a resolution to the OSBA member boards for votes. I see recommend at the top there, so probably that answers it. That on the motion, if you are in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Okay. If you are against, say nay.
Nay. I thought we was gonna vote separate on these two issues, the eligibility and the 2-week reporting. I thought they were gonna be two separate issues, so no. I thought we was gonna vote separate.
Nay is recorded. Is there any abstentions? The motion, and I vote aye. I'm sorry, I did not say aye. The motion passes with all to 1. Linda Hamilton in objection, or as a nay, and the motion passes. Thank you, and really appreciate the comments from everybody. This is really good outcome for us moving forward with something that we can work with. And I want to restate that my commitment for our board members, regardless whether they're from a region or caucus, to have a voice, and appreciate you all supporting that. It increases transparency, it increases access for the members to have a voice in this board. Now, for the good of the order, I want to open it up for any comments or questions or any future agenda or topics the governance committee would like to recommend for discussion or in the future, but please make sure you state it as a topic rather than open a deliberation on it. So it's basically, we're going to capture a laundry list of anything you would like us to consider in the future. So anything for the good of the order. I have one comment. Director Hamilton first.
Thank you. I don't know why we put these two together and voted on versus separate. It's always been separate. They're two separate issues. You have the caucus, the two caucus officers becoming on the board as holding a position, and then you have the 2-week reporting period. Why did we put them together?
So it's been the tradition of this governance committee to consider all changes and have one document that reflects all changes. And those changes were the best consensus that we could have reached through the governance committee. So I understand your desire to separate them, but the bylaws modifications has been voted on as a full document, and this committee agreed to do
Right.
that.
I understand. Thank you. I know why.
Absolutely. Anything for the good of order? All right, one thing for the good of order from my side, as you may know, and thank you, Greg, for highlighting that, it is that committees have vacancies or positions for re-election every period, and this is one of them. So I want to thank all governance committee members who have served, and those who are going to continue with us, or those who are intending for a reappointment to apply for it. I started a process earlier this year where the application process or the appointments process starts with an application. So I'll be sharing with the board and with the members about all vacancies, including the governance. So whether you would like to continue on the governance committee or apply for anyone, I would encourage you to do so. After that, we'll make an appointment and recommendation for the board to approve those appointments as per the bylaws. So I just want to share that with you. So be on the lookout for an email if you would like to continue on this committee or apply for any other committee. With that, really, thank you for your service on this committee. The discussions were very important, and it's going to be shaping how OSBA will function for years to come. With that, I will, Linda, there's other comments?
I'm sorry. I've been on this committee and I looked back at some notes, and we voted separate on issues that was in the bylaws, and then we recommend to the board of directors, and they would vote on whether they want the 2-week exigent circumstances to continue that you report in 2 weeks, vote on that to be whether change or remain, and the caucus, vote on that to change. Are we going to present it to the board just like you just presented to us, that it comes as a package? They don't get to vote on separate issues, and that recommendation is what take place in the bylaws?
I'll defer to Emily. Emily, would you like to share?
I believe that because we need to put forward one resolution on the bylaws changes to the membership. And I had just started last year, but how this worked last year is the resolution for the bylaws changes came forward to the board from the governance committee. The board had a discussion on that and ultimately determined to take out part of the resolution, and then we fixed that and we came back on Sunday and voted on it. So I think once it goes to the board can decide if they want to make changes to those, but ultimately we need one resolution going to the membership. And so that is what the committee is putting forward, is one resolution for the board to consider, and then they can, of course, go in and make changes as they would like for the final resolution to go to the board or go to the membership on the ballot.
Thank you, Emily. Any further questions or comments, Linda?
No, it's just confusing because they're recommendations, and in the past, I've been on this since Marine Wolf, and you make we would make the recommendation on whether the 2-week exigent circumstances or whatever, they vote on that, and then they vote on, we have a vote that approve or pass on the caucus position. They were two separate things that we approve or not approve, and the recommendation, and then go to the board. But this is a totally different process that we putting it together. So I would just thank you. Thank
Thank you, Linda. Greg?
Yes, I believe that what I just asked a little bit ago clarifies that, in that each one of those can absolutely be opened up and talked about. But when we finally finish, we will have one document that is handed out to the membership. So up until that time, after it goes to the board, during that time when it is in the board's hands, we can make any kind of changes we wish to, or it can be recommended to go back to the governance committee and be touched up. So this action that we did today is only to send it to the board, and then the board is going to be able to take it up and we'll be able to look at every line of every bylaw that is in that we presented to them. So that's the process. And we do have the opportunity to, if we have any objections now that we have now tabled, we can bring them up again and have that discussion. So it is an opportunity for us to look at it a little deeper. But when it finally finishes through the board, then it will be handed out to the membership, and that will be a document, even despite objections, that we will, as a board, be handing out in solidarity.
Thank you, Greg. Absolutely. And with that, I want to take a point of personal privilege to share with you a recommendation on how we navigate that. So I want to say what you just stated is absolutely accurate from a process standpoint of view. Now we, as a committee, we really wrestled with this very strongly, and we had dissent on items. We had consensus on some items, and I believe some items have more support than others. But as a committee, we voted on a recommendation. My role as a chair of the committee, I'll move your recommendation as a committee as what this committee has presented. And absolutely, it is the prerogative of our committee members to share what dissent or objections were there. But I want to ask for, personally ask you for your support of the recommendation of this committee, even if we have not reached 100% agreement on everything there. Definitely, we can also go through that process as a full board. And now hearing that, probably we need to have a little bit extra time on the resolution vote to make sure we have a healthy and robust discussion. But at the end, I want to make sure that we support the will of this committee, and then we support the will of this board, the board, in front of the membership. So we are unified, even if we don't get everything we want to see. So I really want to make sure we want to have that opportunity to share the concerns or dissent. But at the end, let's have a robust conversation and be unified in our ask for the membership. Chrissy?
I think what Greg said is correct, is that the discussion needs to happen, that everybody gets an opportunity to talk about what they want. And we're not going to go in to these next level discussions not talking about what happened in this committee. We need everybody to hear everybody's objections. Then they get to make their own decision on the board level. And then at that point, after it's come back again, or if it needs to, at that point, then we do have a united front as we send it out to the member boards. But until that point, everybody gets to have their say. And there's no not having that opportunity to be able to say what you feel. There should be no tamping down on that, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Agreed, Chrissy. Thank you. And I concur with that 100%. Jackie and then Sonia.
This is a question for Haley. Haley, on the policy committee, when we get to September, will the policy committee have their recommendations for the new policies? Like, for instance, on this, what I'm concerned about is a communication in particular. Will they have the language for that line item in policy that matches ours?
I don't believe that policy will be ready for the September meeting. But honestly, I do not remember which policies Spencer thinks he's going to have ready or not. I don't know that Linnell and I have confirmed that with him yet. I think we're still working on that agenda. So
Okay, thank you.
Sonia?
Yeah, I didn't want to just restate the obvious, but I appreciate the discussion, and I think we've all been kind of restating the same thing, but maybe saying it in a different way. But as a subcommittee, what we do here is have discussion, reach a form of consensus, and then present a proposal to the board. And then regardless of how it's presented, whether it's all in one piece, or we can have a discussion, we can move items, remove them, have a discussion on each individual item. Then as a board, we can either redirect things back to the subcommittee. That's how it's worked as long as I've been on the board. And so I'm in agreement, and I think that looking forward to having a discussion with the full board about all the things we've talked about today. So thanks.
Thank you, Sonia. Any further discussion? Anything for the good of the order for the good of the order? Seeing none, thank you all. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haley.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thanks for all your hard work, ladies
Thank you,
and
Jack.
gentlemen.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.